Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to have a conversation about applications powered by Couchbase Capella. And joining me in this discussion are Simba Mupfanya from Netropolix. He's a system architect designing medical conference applications. And Daniele Angeli from Molo17. He's the founder and CEO of that organization. And they are an IT services organization that builds a variety of applications for the medical profession and others. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. I think to start us off, let's get a sense of the applications that each of you are building. Daniele, why don't you go first and tell us about some of the applications that Molo17 is building?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Jeff, and thank you for inviting me here. So we started a journey with Couchbase from 8 years currently and counting. One of the app that we released a bunch of years ago that was also showcased during the Couchbase Connect 2020 was an app for the medical emergency. So we were giving the ability to medicals, crew aboard of ambulances or helicopters to stream patient data right to the hospital before of the arrival of the ambulance and the patient. So they were able to prepare in advance surgery rooms, medicals, professionals, and so on. And that was working completely offline. So that was the power of Couchbase Mobile entirely. And then last year, 2022, we released an app for the Italian Coast Guard that is capable of helping crew members of boats performing challenges, regattas on open sea, sending distress messages whenever an issue may occur. It could be an engine or even a medical issue while challenging in open sea, right to the control room of the Coast Guard that is hosting the regatta event. I'm talking about the biggest regatta of the world. So there are more than 7,000 boats challenging. So you can imagine in a small amount of space in the Gulf of Trieste, this town located in Italy, that there's 7,000 boats challenging between each other, and you have to distinguish between one boat and another that is having a failure. And this has been the first time that an app has been capable of helping the Coast Guard rescuing people in this stress situation, because they were able to both locate precisely where the boat is that is suffering some kind of failure, but also from the point of view of the crew members, they were able to alert the Coast Guard and ask for an help by the helicopters or another boat via a button that is inside the app. That is a simple big red button called SOS. So tapping that button, they were able to send both images, a message, and ask for help. But in the background, the app was capable of sending precise location, geolocation parameters to the control room. So in that way, they will be able to being rescued really quickly. In fact, during the event, we were able to rescue 10 boats that were suffering both for medical issues, but also some engine failures. That was really amazing because the rescue occurred in a bunch of minutes instead of hours. And this really matters.
Very good. And Simba, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Netropolix application?
No, thank you for inviting me to this. It's lovely. It's good to actually share ideas and explain to people as well our experience, especially regarding Couchbase and Capella. For us, unlike Danielle, we're quite new to Couchbase. It's not as if we never investigated before, but we needed to find a solution that is more database as a service. So we did quite a bit of investigations here and there, which suited our use cases. So I'll explain a bit of what we do. We're basically a company that creates applications for events or congresses, specifically medical events. We also do a bit more, but our specialty was mostly regarding medical conferences. So in this world of ours, we deal with a lot of data. It's really driven by scientific program or the likes. And in the past, we had a lot of data lakes. Basically, it's all we combine from different input sources for reporting and analytics purposes. But over time, we started realizing the inefficiencies of these lakes. As we always like to say, they become swamps. So you need to find a solution that is more reliable, fast, low latency, high throughput, all the things that tick those boxes for the end product. Because most of the time, people do not care what's behind the scenes. They just want to see the results. That's all they care about. But for
You're
us,
right.
it is, yes, you understand.
Yes.
So finding the right concept and architecture of things, especially the data store, is of paramount importance. So for us, most of the time, we used RDBMS database, relational databases, Microsoft SQL, because as Netropolix, we're a Microsoft partner as well. So we wanted to find an approach to combine all this raw data into a single centralized store that we don't manage on premises. And I specifically mentioned that word on premise because in the conference world, we all go to the on-site locations, we set up our servers, all those things like that. That means we need to carry our databases as well, set them up on premises, but over time that also becomes inefficient because sometimes people say, well, it's cheaper to do it that way and it's more expensive in the cloud. But we quickly realize that if we are to centralize everything and we always have to move databases around, it just does not make any sense. So we needed to find a way of avoiding on-premise setup and go to the cloud that way. And you have to realize that also Couchbase offers solutions for on-premise. You have the community editions, and that's what we even experienced with before this year, let's put it this way. But the difference is you have to set up everything and you need to do it right. And the beautiful thing about Couchbase technicians, they will offer you support and help to get going if you so wish. But going back to Capella, for us, it was now important to say, okay, if we put our databases in the cloud and we're going to replace all our data lakes with one centralized database, how efficient is it going to be? You have to realize that in the conference world, people want an app. There's the websites. You've got also the on-site applications itself for printing badges, etc., etc. All that has to be managed through some kind of data store. So Capella helped us that way because it was quite interesting that with all our buckets, or the databases rather, we could put quite a large number of documents for very, how do you say it, you didn't need much resources at all. So whether it was horizontal scaling or vertical scaling, we literally started off with the minimum that you can think of that's available in Capella. And we were able, together with our Capella technicians, I like to call them the two Josés, and special mention to José Coté. He was able to monitor the logs as well, because sometimes you don't know how it's going to operate. Theory is always theory. The practical is something else. But it is important that your theory is a calculated risk. So we were able to deploy our database, able to develop all these apps, solutions rather, that use Capella as their fundamental centralized data store. And we quickly realized that it was able to handle so many requests, sent through it, because we would have cases whereby we've got 5 to 10,000 people who log in at the same time. So we're not talking about people coming into your applications over a day, which can be handled by most servers. We're talking about people saying, well, I want to watch a live session right now because the session is like now.
Right.
It's live. And then you've got 5,000, 10,000 people all at once logging in within this 5 seconds. You'll be surprised how the best hardware you might think of might not be able to handle that initial spike. And it was to our surprise that Capella was able to manage those things with the setup that we had. And this allowed us to even build more solutions, which in retrospect, we could have done even more, but it allowed us to introduce more customers to our solutions without worrying so much of the load going to Capella because we knew it could handle. And you have to remember, sometimes it's just a slide of a button if you need to do something to it, and it just works. So bottom line, as a conference event company that creates solutions, Capella is the database that we now use for all our centralized data store for all the different ingoing concerns, rather than creating a data lake with all the different sources and then somehow try to transform all that data for the different applications, because that became so inefficient. The applications became slow because you do transformations. So we will go on and on as well, because there's interesting things through Capella on how it is fundamentally, technically, that we're able to produce certain solutions as well without or coding or technical, how to say it, knowledge of the apps, which is just pure configuration and setup, and things just worked. So in summation, that's basically it.
No, that sounds really interesting. And I think from the standpoint of both of your applications that you've built, that each of you have built, it does touch on some of the core competencies or capabilities of Couchbase and Capella. Number one, delivering a highly responsive user experience. So that performance at the user level is really key. The ability to support a variety of different types of data. Each of you have profiles as one of the core capabilities of your applications, and that's what JSON as a document structure is really great at. And third, I think is also really interesting is each of you have mobility built into your application, such that you're catering to the new interfaces that users are using. Tell us a little bit, Daniele, about the mobile capabilities that you've been working on lately.
Well, for sure, one of the most appreciated mobile capabilities, the fact that we are able to provide apps that fully work offline, wherever, let's say, the network connectivity is, wherever the people are, doesn't matter. The app can continue working and rely on Couchbase Lite, Couchbase Mobile. But the most interesting thing is that whenever an internet connection gets established, even if it's a poor one in the middle of the open sea, you're able to sync the data back again to the server bidirectionally. And it doesn't matter if you have a conflict. You can resolve it both in the cloud or locally with your own business logic. That is amazing. And another thing that I would like to bring here to the table today is that you also can rely on a really secure embedded database, but also a secure connection with the cloud. So no matter if your device get lost, and that was really important for the ambulance crew members, because a device can get stolen, or it can be just lost in the middle of the mission.
Absolutely.
Wherever in the open field. And so you're able to just say, okay, forget it, I lost it, but the data is there, is encrypted, no matter what people will do with the device. You can wipe the data, but it's fine via MDM software, whatever, but the data is encrypted, and that really matters for somebody to trust you while delivering such kind of software. So this is really important.
And Siva, I imagine the same holds true for you in terms of security and the variety of individuals, doctors, and medical professionals who are on your app.
Absolutely, because for us, GDPR is very important. Data needs to be secure. Even sometimes when you publish app, especially with Apple, you need to prove that your algorithm is sound. Let's put it this way. And out of the box, the Capella Lite offers you the ability to encrypt your database. And the commercial edition, you need to be very specific about that as well. So sometimes you don't need to worry about that. But I'll add on to some of these features that I think the audience needs to understand and appreciate about Couchbase and the Capella specifically as well. We coming from a SQL background as well, you would imagine people want to do a lot of migrations from one database to the other. But for us, one of the most interesting things that evolved with Capella was the evolution of the Nickel language, N1QL, into SQL++, which literally almost mimics the SQL syntax to the core.
You're right.
So it was something that was pleasantly surprising. But for us, what made us jump over the line and choose Couchbase Capella specifically regarding that aspect is that for our gateway APIs to the mobile apps and the batch printing apps for on-site, all those things, we ended up not having to create middle layers for data transformation, because when you did those queries using the SQL syntax, you got back the JSON you needed with the fields that you query in. So you got back your result as you want the client to have.
Yes.
So you cut literally development time in half for data transformation. So sometimes people don't realize that big advantage, because in most systems, even if you use GraphQL, you're going to have to create these strongly typed models that might exist and query those models and return only the fields you want. But you quickly realize with Capella and Couchbase specifically as well, if you can design a completely different architecture of querying data, which can be template based, and all you have to do is one client, they say, I want VIP information, as an example. One client wants VIP information. The other also wants the same VIP information, but the definition of VIP is very different from one client to another. So instead of you going into your library or whatever to code a new query, all you have to do is change the query and return the same fields that you so wish,
right?
And without any programming. It's a very fundamental aspect that people don't realize, because most of our time as developers and architects is spent on getting back the right data that's needed at the client side. So once you figure out that, then you realize the advantage of Capella. And I know some people will be saying, wow, there is CouchDB that could do that, Microsoft as well. But I'll tell you right now, as a Microsoft partner, it's so hard to learn that SQL syntax that they've tried to make. It's like a wannabe SQL
especially
syntax.
As fast as Couchbase is currently performing.
Exactly. So it's unbelievable. The only thing I would then suggest to people when they want to investigate is, when you are dealing with Couchbase, your indexing processes becomes more paramount and very important. But once you get over that hurdle, you will be surprised how efficient and fast, and these templated solutions that you can integrate with this concept that I'm mentioning of just modifying your queries to have an end result will be out. It's very simple to integrate or implement. So this is one thing I wanted to highlight about
that's awesome. And yes, we see that fairly frequently, is that customers purchase us for the performance capabilities and the flexibility of document database, but the reason they keep us is because of SQL++.
You're right.
Absolutely. You're right.
Your development teams fall in love with it, which we see that very, very regularly. As you were, so each of you, it sounds like, had some degree of experience with Couchbase in the past. Perhaps talk about some of the other products that you had experiences with, and what were the drivers for Couchbase versus some of those other choices. Danielle, why don't you go first?
Yeah. Well, that's true. Honestly, we are also partner with MongoDB in the past years, and we developed quite a few interesting projects also with them. But for mobile capabilities, there's no competition out there. When there's a mobile offline need, we stick with Couchbase, because even if we were using Realm, even before, Couchbase mobile offers a wide range of capabilities, especially as Simba introduced previously. The way that you actually query the data and access to data is immediately be able to be switched from server side to mobile side, just copy pasting the query, the same query. So of course, if you have a small team that needs to run fast because you have to deliver, full stop, you have to deliver. You don't have time to waste looking for a way to overcome an issue while querying the data. That's it. So Couchbase Lite just work as Couchbase Capella is working really, really fine. And our need for this regatta use case was, of course, deliver a mission critical app for rescuing people, but also providing a really well-performant service at scale, capable of also of providing geospatial queries to the control room guys that were monitoring the boats, challenging between one another. And the app was in need to be lively refreshed. So you need to provide something that really works in milliseconds, aggregating tons of data coming from boats, coming from crew members, because everyone were having the app installed in their own mobile devices. So you can imagine how many
Special
geoposition
queries.
being sent to the server. So the capability of Nickel also working with geospatial queries was something that the competitors out there were not able to provide. So that's for sure one of the key features.
Yeah, just to add on to Danielle, in addition to geospatial, even the time zone conversion queries as well, it was something special to see how Couchbase was able to handle that, because in conference apps, you've got people from different time zones and they want to see these programs in their time zones. And the ability to query a query and set a time zone and get back the time and date for that specific time zone without you converting it on your app is something to behold. So it avoids you developing again another middleman for all this time zone conversion. So it is truly a sight to behold in this regard as well.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And I guess, had you, tell me about the experiences you all have had with perhaps some of the products from cloud service providers, right? How would you compare Capella versus those?
I can take over this one for a bit regarding, because as I mentioned, we are a Microsoft partner, so we are heavily reliant on some Azure processes or services as well. And one of our experiences we had was, as I said, was a CouchDB, whereby just a few wrong settings made the cost astronomical. It was quite a sight to behold regarding that. And we quickly realized that even regarding the scaling of what we needed to do, it really was not the way forward. So you had the complexities of the queries and the databases per se, but the moment we moved or investigated the Capella and Couchbase and their pricing structure, and you have to remember that Capella, you can host it on Google Cloud, AWS as well, and soon Azure will be possible as well. But regardless of the hosting platform that they're doing, it is the way Capella itself maximizes those results in relation to cost. So most people indeed are always skeptical about putting something in the cloud because they don't want to pay X amount of dollars or euros, however it is. It is just the world we live in. But the lower you can have something, so value for money, I like to call it this way. So for us, we quickly realized, as I said, based on use case that we have now, the lowest of the setup that we had, we're able to handle quite a lot. And if we were to take that same configuration, use another database, I don't think we'd ever achieved the exact same result set. And the reason why I say that is because we know exactly the bandwidth, the amount of data, the amount of queries, everything that was executed, and the CPU usage, the RAM usage, all that analysis exists if you just ask the Couchbase team. They'll give it to you. They don't hide anything. Based on that, you can quickly realize that if I take what is happening and try and do it with another solution, it's not going to work. And you have to realize that with Capella and Couchbase, we also, there's something that I didn't mention, we also had full text search enabled through the entire documents. Because it's inbuilt. It's something that you can do without worrying. You create the right indexes and it just works. But that also takes a lot of processing power as you get it. So, and with the other database that we have, they don't have it inbuilt. It didn't exist in Couchbase. You had to in CouchDB. You would have to create open source Lucian, all those things, and try and index it yourself. Let's put it that way. But that adds an additional cost that people don't realize. So you might say, oh, it's cheap, but you start adding all the things that you need to put in that cloud environment. Before you realize it, you are using so many services, you've got so many tick boxes ticked, and then the cost goes crazy.
You have to manage these services.
Yeah, indeed. So what you want is a one-stop shop sometimes, and a one-stop shop that is efficient and transparent and correct. So in Capella, I have all the options. I've got the analysis, I've got the indexing, I've got all the full text searching. They're all there. So if I don't want something, I just turn it off. It's non-existent.
Right.
It's all present. So when you realize that way and you weigh your cost benefits with other clouds or even on-premise, and I make this as a point because sometimes people think that on-premise is cheap. It's not as well. You have to license your server, you have to license your database, you have to license your SQL Server. And then if you want to do full text search in SQL, because we know it Microsoft SQL as well, it's a setup and a half, I tell you as well.
Right.
And that's also a cost. My time to do that is also cost. People don't realize that. So at C level, as architect, we have to explain to our CFOs to say, okay, this is the case why we use Capella because of A, B, C, and D, cost-wise as well. And if we do it on-premise, this is the cost that can increase and increment because when you sometimes you don't see it. So you have to explain the way I explained, as in there's also human cost involved, development cost involved, and at Capella, it's all there. So when you look at that and how it's working, the throughput that Danielle said, milliseconds to query data or whatsoever, and you have to remember that you can even run it, and this is our use case, we're even running it in one region, so not multi-zones, one region. We're still able to serve people who are in Australia in under 300 milliseconds. For them as well. And if we decide to do multi-zone, no problem. We go to Capella guys and say, right, we want to create replication and we're good to go. So there is a lot of advantages with Capella if you really look in depth and analyze your use case.
Yeah, no, that's the really great sort of summary of the extended capabilities of Capella. But Daniela, you've got experience across multiple clouds as well. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I can just say it in one word: incomplete. So the offering of all the other services is just incomplete. You got to do all the things that Simba just said. So tick all the boxes of all the services that you may need in order to be comparable of what Capella is currently delivering you. But one of the things that scared us the most, and that's why we started using Capella for that regatta use case for the Coast Guard, is that we have been asked to deliver the solution in just 2 months. And that was an issue because the past experience we had with, the normal way of deploying a Couchbase cluster in your own premise, whatever cloud that is, or even on-prem to the customer premises, is the fact that you have to think a lot and plan a lot of things before deploying the cluster, because you need to have a Kubernetes team that can do the DevOps on your behalf, because you need to have a lot of people involved on deploying a Couchbase Capella cluster. And if you don't have time to do that, that will be a matter of issues, because you cannot rely on your piece of infrastructure. But with Capella, with 2 clicks, you're capable of deploying a new cluster that satisfies all the requirements, both security requirements, whatever it is, also compliances, because it's kind of military health care standards that what our customer is currently was looking at. It was also the compliances that we were not able to deliver with our own hosted solution. So these pieces are really, really important. And the more things that you add in your stack, the more point of failures that you may have. So I really love that the fact that with 2 clicks I'm able to deploy a Couchbase Capella cluster with app services, so the mobile capabilities that previously was kind of another product that you were, let's say, need to carry on. That's amazing.
And so being able to have that robustness of features, all of these different services that can access your core data from the single platform, really does help reduce complexity all the way around.
Absolutely.
So that your teams aren't wondering what kind of interface did they make between the search engine and something else, right? Couchbase has that built in. So Simba, what's next for you? How do you anticipate your application evolving?
No, basically it's building more on top of it. We're in the process of discussing to bring more of even our internal apps to Capella. So try to put as little as possible in our SQL stores or RDBMS databases and bring them all to Capella. So this is a process that we are still investigating as well, but it makes 100% sense for us as well, because even as I mentioned before, we have so much raw data that comes in, and then we send it to Capella. But we realize that even with that amount of I/O read writes that were going on, not once did we have an issue when it came to the reporting part as well. Because the beautiful part of Capella, you can say you want, how do you say it, up to the minute data, or you can say use the cache data. So you've got a choice at the client side or with your server, say your gateways, to decide what kind of data you want to send to the client. So we quickly realized that we can expagorate it and expand more into the offerings that we do internally as well. So not just the applications that are used by the end users on conferences, but also the management applications as well. And if we're able to do that, then truly Capella becomes a one-stop solution. And because it has all the backup possibles and all, I don't have to worry about doing that myself either. Let's put it that way.
What's the next project for you?
So there are many things that are undergoing currently. One of the, let's say, the needed ones was to turn off entirely our own managed Couchbase clusters that we have running for a bunch of years on AWS, managed entirely by our team. We would like to let the team focus on things that matters and not babysitting a cluster of database. So we are currently ended up with the project of migrating all of the data inside Capella. So this, of course, enables us to sleep a lot. And let's put it that way. But in this manner, you can really focus on what is your currently business needs, and not on something that it's babysitting a database. So I really love the fact that Capella is enabling us to do so. Meanwhile, is also cutting down cost for us, because you switch teams that are carry on DevOps activities, whatever, support, just focusing on something else more important, and you can rely on Capella. The other thing is that doing that, we are migrating customers' workloads into Capella from these hosted Couchbase solution. And for that specific project, the Regatta one, the Coast Guard, we're working together with the customer to not just doing this app for the regattas, but also for something that is more valuable and important, which is rescuing people like hikers and so on in the mountains, in the Alps. So that's really crucial. I really love to see where these will head us on. And we're also helping with our product, GlueSync, the data replication suite. We're helping customers from the relational database world to move workloads into Capella. So migrating, taking off the relational database data into Capella, and I really love doing that. So
good on you.
That's our journey.
And Simba, can you talk as well a little bit about cost of ownership and what you're seeing there?
Goose, pardon? I didn't quite understand.
About your cost of ownership and what kind of savings are you experiencing at Netropolix?
No, as I explained before, because we in the hybrid world we do both on-site configurations and hybrid configurations. So as I mentioned, we had to carry quite a lot of equipment, which we do, and servers, set up all these on-site, on-premise servers. So if you think about it, that's now a thing of the past, specifically when it comes to our scientific program that we call. We don't need to do with that anymore. Anyhow, it's all done via the cloud and Capella. So the more we bring in these things to the cloud, the easier it's going to become for us. But don't get me wrong. I don't want people to think that, entire cloud is a solution. No, you can always combine your solutions. And I go back again to use cases. So as Danielle mentioned before, you've got also your managed Capellas, which is even the community editions running locally for little tasks. It's possible. It's up to you. So it's not that every single thing you're going to go to the cloud. No, but what I want to stress is you can still use Couchbase. So
Right.
it might not be Capella, but it can be Couchbase. Let's put it that way, to satisfy use cases. So you can even have smaller units of Couchbase databases, and then you can have a process that does your syncing to Capella for your relevant data that you need explored that way. It's all up to you, and it's all possible. But what I advocate or I'm saying is you can use all the features from Couchbase as well on your local, whether it's a community edition or whatever. Capella is your hosted solution that you want robustness, scaling, and all that. So look at your use case and then move forward.
Yeah,
excellent,
right.
excellent.
Yeah.
I think we're just about to time right now, gentlemen. I really appreciate your participation here. I guess we have 2 polls that we want to execute just for the audience to follow up on. Is number one, we'll open each of our first poll, which is what kind of additional information does anyone else want to receive here as you look ahead based on the conversation that we've had. So I'll give that a minute or two to collect its votes. We've got a couple of folks looking for white papers. We've got a couple of folks looking for potentially a demo. So very useful there. And then I'll publish the next one, which is, do you have what sort of time frame does everyone have for engaging with an organization such as Couchbase? So yeah, we have case study interest as well. So I'll give this one more second, and then I'll close it down because votes are still coming in.
It's all right.
So there we go. And then I'll open this one. And what kind of time frame is everyone looking at, and what's your sets of urgency? I think while we leave this poll open, one of the interesting things I want to discuss with you guys in closing is how long did it take each of you to implement some of your Couchbase solutions? Because each of you are operating on a very tight timeline, it seems. Daniele, why don't you go first?
From 3 to 2 months, not more.
Not more.
Yeah.
And
speed of light.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah.
I know. It's so for us, you would say about 6 months, 6 to 12, between 6 to 12, because we had to. You have to remember that with COVID came the need for hybrid events. Right. So we had quite a lot of products that we had made, and those products needed to be migrated first and foremost to Couchbase, in addition to building or creating new products themselves as well, which is, for instance, the event apps, the conference apps that have all these glorious features, they like to call them, even though some of them are repetitive, but they want them in conference applications. So with that solution, as in Couchbase as our data store, as I said, we cut literally the whole transformation timescale where we needed to transform our data from this to that for the client. So we were able to build a whole host of solutions, including the mobile app as well, within that 6 to 12 months. Since we started discussing with Capella somewhere in March, April, and then we started our solution in May, June, and we finished it September. That's why.
Wow. Okay. So again, that's about 4 or 5 months.
4 months. Yeah, indeed. There you go.
Very fast.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah,
that's also very, very interesting in terms of your ability to get going and
absolutely
productive very, very rapidly.
Yeah,
the support is good at Outgate Couchbase. It's good. Yeah.
Gentlemen, we thank you both for your participation today, your conversation about Couchbase Capella. I look forward to speaking to you again, both individually, potentially collectively as well. But any last thoughts before we close out here?
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Couchbase team.
Absolutely.
Of course, this partnership is always great, and I really looking forward to see what's coming next.
Indeed, thanks, Jeff, as well. As a young partner client, it's interesting to see how we can move forward. We have discovered quite a lot of things regarding Couchbase, all the things that are possible. So we're going to try and move forward to see what other possibilities exist. And I like the concept that they do listen to us. So it is truly a back and forth, even at technical level. So they are willing to upgrade and add more features as well. So it's quite, So it's interesting to note. Not every established product is like that.
It cooperates like that, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Again, thank you both, and we'll be talking to you soon. Cheers, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for your
Cheers.
Thanks for
Thank you.